our Take and Bake craft. My name is Anna and I'm going to make Victoria's sandwich cake. This cake was named after Queen Victoria, who liked to eat it with her afternoon tea. At first, this cake was filled with just jam, but it was a freshly made homemade jam, so I'm sure this filling was great on its own. This recipe soon evolved and they started adding cream filling on top of the jam. This version became the best known British classic, and this is what we are going to make today. If you've never made a cake from scratch, it may seem a little bit of intimidating, but this cake is really simple to make. And as long as you can use a mixer, you will be fine. So let's take a look at what's included in the bag. We have a bag of pre-measured butter, a jar of jam, heavy cream, flour mix, sugar, whipped cream mix, sugar for dusting, and two cake pans. There is also parchment paper in between the cake pans. We will use the paper for the pans. What we need to add are 3 tablespoons of either water or milk and 3 eggs. Now let's begin baking. Before we start, we have to bring the butter to room temperature. You cut the butter in small pieces, place it in a bowl and let sit for about 1 hour. This is my cut and prepared butter. Now we can prepare the cake pans by greasing them with a little bit of oil or cooking spray. You can use either a pastry brush or just a piece of paper towel. It's very simple. I'm going to wipe the cake pans. The paper towel dipped in oil. And the same with another pan. And you also have to grease the parchment paper. That goes to one pan. That goes to the other pan. Now let's put the pan aside and prepare the equipment. So we need a hand mixer. We need 2 bowls. One can be smaller, one should be quite large. We need a cup for the eggs and a strainer. Professional bakers usually beat whole eggs together until they are light and fluffy. but it takes a long time to beat and it is easy to undermix. So I'm going to use a technique that always works for me, and it sure guaranteed that the cake will be airy and soft. So I'm going to separate the egg whites and egg yolks. The egg whites will go to the bowl and the egg yolks will go to the cup. When all ingredients are ready, we can preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, you can place the batter into a large bowl. Put in the sugar. And we are going to mix it together until light and fluffy. Should be light and fluffy. Then add the egg yolks gradually and beat together. Finally, add the flour mix by sifting it over the top of the bowl. Um, this is a very important step because the flour loses easily the air bubbles, and we need a lot of air bubbles to make our cake soft and airy. And now we can also add the water or milk, whichever you prefer. And we mix everything, but do it gently and use a low speed. That should be enough. Now we need to take off the bitters from the mixer because we're going to use them for mixing the egg whites. And The beaters for the egg whites have to be very clean and dry. So now I'm going to clean the beaters and get ready for beating the egg whites. Make sure your egg whites are clean and there are no pieces of egg yolks inside. If they are, spoon them out. Otherwise, the egg whites will be more difficult to beat. Now, let's beat the egg whites on high until stiff. When you turn the bowl upside down and the egg whites are stiff, it means they are ready. This is a very important step since the cake batter needs a lot of air bubbles and it contributes to the good texture of the cake. Now we take a spoon and fold it very gently to the rest of the batter. That should be good enough. It's important not to overmix because that may create dense dough. And now we can spoon out the cake batter into our pans. Okay, that should be good enough. Now I'm going to put the pans to the oven for about 25 minutes. My cakes are ready. They have nicely golden color and they start shrinking away from the sides of the pan. But the best way to check if a cake is done is to insert a toothpick. If it comes out clean and dry, it means the cake is done. While you wait for your cakes to bake, it's also important not to open the oven door for the first 20 minutes of baking because the cakes may collapse. So be patient. Now, we have to let the cakes cool completely for at least an hour. When the cakes are cool, we make the whipped cream filling. For this, we will need our favorite by now, mixer, a clean bowl, and now we have to empty the heavy whipped cream Dump the content into the bowl and start mixing. We have to stir on low speed because it's going to splash, and then we continue whipping on high speed until very stiff. Before the end of the process, we will add the whipped cream mixture. So let's start mixing. My whipped cream is ready. It's nice and stiff, and it will not move when I try to turn the bowl upside down. Now, let's get ready to put the cake together. Have to remove the cakes from the pans. With the parchment paper, they should come out easy. Remove the parchment paper. And now we place one of the cake top side down on a serving bowl. Then take the jam and spread it evenly on the cake. We won't need to use the whole jam because that would be too much. Maybe one more spoon. That should be enough. And now we put the whipped cream on top of that. Make sure not to go beyond the edges because if you put another cake on top, it may overflow. Okay, that should be good enough. Now, let's put the other cake. Press very gently. And we're almost done. Now let's take the strainer and the packet of dusting sugar. And with the strainer above the cake, we sprinkle the dusting sugar. That's it. The cake is ready. To some of you may seem like it's a little bit unfinished with no fancy frosting and decoration, but this is how it's supposed to be. If it was good enough for the queen, it should be good enough for us. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the cake. Goodbye.